before Stormer starts.
Oh, she knows.
She knows. Good morning, everybody. Hey, what's going on?
Morning.
Good morning, Vietnam.
There we are. Oh, we got some interparters here. Who are these two gentlemen above us? Chanda, would you like to introduce our guests?
We have Franklin Walbrown. He is a producer from the Brave New Future with Miss Amber King. And then we have Amos from No Joke joining us today. We're so excited to have you, Amos. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah. Hi, Amos. Hi, Franklin. We're going to have an interesting show today. And just for everybody out there, before you run off, because Oz plays too much Rising at once, we mixed it up.
Okay, we had to talk about that yesterday.
We had to talk. And it is honestly, I do that because Rising talks about the topics that we deem really good, but we're going to try and mix it up a little bit more. So I want to say hi to all the chat. Good morning, Awalski, Melissa. There's Barbara, Sirius, 1996, Auntie Ann. Auntie Ann, let's see the hair. Here's my hair, Auntie Ann. Auntie Ann likes my hair. So yeah, that's so nice. Anyway, good morning, everybody in chat. Franklin's in there. I think I got everybody that I can see, but I know there's some other people lurking. So anyway, yeah, good Tuesday. What's the theme today? Terrible Tuesday, or is it just whatever? I don't know.
It's terrible every day this year.
It's terrible every day. I know the news cycle was terrible.
Marcus is with us. Good morning, Marcus.
Hey, Marcus.
Good afternoon.
Hey,
Guten Morgen, Markus.
Guten Morgen, Herr Marcus.
Guten Abend.
Yeah.
Guten Abend.
Guten Abend. Guten Abend. Warum?
Nacht.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Yeah, it was terrible. I couldn't find hardly any news stuff. Fortunately, Chanda and Franklin and almost brought stuff today. So let's see.
We packed a lunch.
Let's talk about the cover card real quick. Yeah, these cover cards are really hard, but we've got Uncle Joey there, and Uncle Donnie. Oh God, I disown both of them, and they're overseeing the new virus vaccine, making sure that it's either what are we talking about? Is it going to be out before the election? Is it going to be the October surprise? Is there even going to be such a thing? So that's where we're at on that. But Trump had one of his gatherings, and he was talking about, I can't find the clip, I totally apologize, but he was like minimizing the death toll in this country, just a few people. Did you guys happen to see that at all?
I did not.
Yeah, it was terrible. Absolutely terrible. It's like, 200,000 people are already dead, but it's okay because most of them are old people, right? And that, well, that's not necessarily true either, because we've seen cases, and this nurse had a pre-existing condition. She had like asthma or something, but she's a 28-year-old Houston doctor. No, yeah, it's not a nurse, doctor. She died. She was on an incubator in like 3 weeks. And my brother's calling again.
I was going to say, your brother's calling you.
Yeah, he likes to call right in the middle of the show. Hi, from Scotland. But anyway, does anybody? Do you disagree that it's just affecting old people, or is it just me? What do you think, Amos? What's
it's nonsense, of course. Of course, there's the grain of truth in it is that the majority of people who die are older people, but it's clear that it's affecting everyone, especially younger people who have underlying conditions, obesity or otherwise. And what's been recently found out is that there's an issue of myocarditis that is attached to people who recover from COVID. So if you've recovered from COVID, you're still not out of the woods. In fact, you could be years down the line. You could have serious heart complications and even fatality because of that. And right now, there's no system that counts those complications and deaths in that account. So we would have a much higher death toll if they were looking at that.
So what is myocarditis?
Well, it's a condition of the heart. I'm not exactly sure clinically what happens, but it can create serious implications down the line.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those with heart conditions like aneurysms and tissue problems and muscle problems, they're probably really susceptible.
More
And
prone, yeah.
that would be me.
Right, and but also athletes. There's nobody's like they don't know why somebody would be more susceptible to myocarditis than others yet. But it obviously also athletes have gotten it affecting them and so forth.
So yeah, I just, why would Trump be so I don't know, flippant about, oh well, it's just 200,000 old people or whatever. I think, I don't care. 200,000 people
care.
are dead.
That's why.
They're dead. The fact is they're dead. And there's comparisons about wars and flu and everything else, but they're trying to just I don't know, what are they trying to do? They're just trying to make it out to be not a big deal, and it's a huge deal because, as we're going to see later on, Chanda, don't you have a clip coming up that's
Well, before we get to that, I know that like you go to the cardiac ward, right? So the root word of myocarditis is heart, cardio, and then myo is middle, and then itis is inflammation.
Yeah.
So it's inflammation of the middle muscular layer of the heart wall.
So that's a tissue issue.
Yeah, it's inflammation of the heart wall,
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So thank God for Google. Well,
Not Google.
Not Google.
Internet.
Sorry, internet. And by the way, that Al Gore did not invent that.
No, he didn't. I want to give a shout out to our 2 viewers over on Rockfin. You can join me in the chat over at Rockfin at any time. As you know, YouTube is not as reliable as it used to be. I'm hearing in the chat that Savage Joy might have had a problem last night and YouTube took her down. I did notice those videos were gone this morning when I tried to click them. So if for some reason you can't find us, look for us over on the Rockfin.
Yeah, I need to talk to Joy about that because she had 3 incarnations. It was 3 layered on top of each other, and they were all set to private. So, one of these days we're probably just going to be running on, Twitter and these other things. YouTube's going away. We could go over to Spotify, but then we'd have to have the producers handle all of our dirty work. So, let's. Do you guys have anything more to say about this other than there's more to come on these deaths, and Uncle Donnie needs to stop trivializing deaths from COVID. That's just ridiculous.
I watched a conversation last night, and there was a meme on Facebook, and it was a mask over the face, and it said IQ 50, a mask over the face, and it said IQ over 120, and it had no mask. And a doctor came on that post and was like, I don't know what you're trying to imply, wearing a mask is the smartest thing you can do, blah, blah, blah. And these people it was the most ignorant thing I've ever read in my life. Just telling this doctor how stupid she is to believe in science and all of her training to wear a mask. It just disgusted me, and I just unfriended the person who posted it and went away, But that's the mentality that we're dealing with because of what Trump's doing.
Yeah, Franklin, what are your feelings on that? I know you and Amber have had this conversation several times.
I think that science is a tool. And I think that people need to not make science a religion.
Yep.
And I know that science has been compromised by corporations, and corporations get to pretty much make their own data. And why? For the profit motive. So science is a tool where we say, hey, I've gotten these results and here are my notes. Can you duplicate that? And then somebody else takes the notes and tries to get the same results. And if they get the same results and they get similar notes, then that's good. But if they don't get the same results and they took notes, they can compare notes and say, hey, we did this and this and this and this differently. I wonder why we didn't get the same results. And that's science.
Yeah, I would love to get an acronym that makes fun of those people that wear those masks that say 50 IQ from science.
Did you see Jilly Love's comment that says stop masturbating?
Stop Jilly, give Jilly a happy face.
That was pretty funny.
I want to take it one step further than what you said. It's basically science is not just trying to replicate successes in research, but to actually bring them down. So basically, it's a challenge question. Can you dispute what I've found and that's even more of a challenge. It's more of a hurdle because everybody's out to get you.
Well, and I think also it shouldn't be demonized to question. I think it is good. I think everyone should be skeptical all the time of everything. So
I agree.
Right, but what I'm saying is that science in its purest form, like the way it's supposed to be conducted, and certainly with peer review, is already has that skepticism built in. So if you're doing things right according to science, then the skepticism is already there. You should be trusting that whatever comes out of the other end is by great part correct to the best of the knowledge.
Well, my big issue is when you have corporations that are like doing their own studies. Who's to say that those studies aren't being corrupted by that money that's being poured into the study?
For those grants, yeah.
Yeah, they probably are in some situations, like the oil companies' research and the cigarette companies' studies that
that's
were
a good
showing
example.
that
Yeah,
that's true. But then you have that's why you have a scientific community, and those people are supposed to knock it down.
yeah. They really need to get on that, and history doesn't bode well for that, because it seems like we're just getting worse and worse on the wrong side of that line of science versus profit, and that's what the hell scares it out of me. So,
Keith Hayes says that we are being banned in Lithuania and New Zealand. Woohoo! We're doing something right.
yeah, I just shout out again to chat. We had a few more. Hey, human love solidarity. I'm fixing my mic issues, so thank you for pointing it out. Human in the comments, not in the chat, but on a couple of our shows said Oz really needs to get his head out of his ass and get his sound fixed, because Chanda sounds beautiful. Welcome, Bill Gabriel, and Jilly's in here. And let me see. Somebody said that Nina Turner's podcast got taken down on YouTube. What the hell's up with that?
Well, they've been looking all over for it. I talked to Barbara about this. Good morning, Barbara. And she said she looked all over yesterday and it wasn't on YouTube.
Well, it's not a surprise. YouTube's going to be jacking around with us forever. And just a shameless plug. Amos is on No Joke with Chanda and Marcus. And I sit in the chair once in a while on Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. No Joke, please join them. Let's jump into the next segment. That was a good back and forth on that. That was very chatty with context. What's this all about?
This was from last night's ACT TV. Great interview with Chris Hedges.
All right.
No, I'm happy to have you on because you're always talking about the systemic issues that are more serious than even Trump himself. Can you talk about what we are facing right now in terms of the systemic issues that you see playing out in front of us?
Right. Well, I think it's pretty clear that Biden is going to do nothing to address the issues that and I think others have argued gave rise to a figure, a demagogue, a con artist like Trump. In fact, things are about to get exponentially worse. I covered the war in the former Yugoslavia, so I'm intimately familiar with how societies break down. Also worked in the Middle East for 7 years and North Africa, 6 years in Latin America, covered the wars in Central America. And I think it's pretty clear that the tinder that could ignite widespread social unrest and violence lies ominously stacked around us. You have millions of very angry, disenfranchised white Americans. This is Trump's base, living in economic and social misery, enraged at political stagnation, the corruption of the ruling class, a bankrupt liberal elite, which the Democratic Party embodies, and this mounting social inequality, which is about to get much worse. That's on one side. Then you have millions more alienated young men and women who've been locked out of the system, and again have a deep animus, which is totally understandable, against governing structures, and often express this through anti-fascism. And the political center is rapidly disintegrating. and then we have added to this mix the fact that the country is awash in military grade weapons, unable to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic and its economic fallout, have unleashed unaccountable, violent, militarized police forces that, in essence, in poor neighborhoods function as internal armies of occupation and de facto allies of these neo-fascists. So, and then we add the fact that we have an estimated 40 million people who will be evicted from their homes because the moratorium on foreclosures and evictions has been lifted by the end of this year. Some, Johns Hopkins, others are estimating that perhaps 400,000 Americans will be dead from the pandemic by 300,000, I think, by December, 400,000 by January.
100,000 people in a month.
Yeah. Well, because it spirals.
Right.
And
unbelievable.
That's
a
grim.
great interview. It's like a half-hour long Act TV. Juliana, she's awesome.
Yeah. What's that 100,000 in a month? That's breathtaking. In the
That
worst
was
way.
why I brought the clip. I was shocked when I heard him say that. I'm like, wow, I hadn't heard that anywhere else.
Do you guys, Amos, Franklin, how do you feel about that little segment?
You wanna say?
I don't have any data to dispute that. All I see is what he's saying, and it looks like that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I've heard about the COVID. I've heard that those figures before. Yeah, it is frightening because we're behind by a couple of weeks from what actually is going on, and in 2 weeks the number of infections can be so dramatic that's unfortunately a likely scenario. But the rest of it is truly, when you hear it all in one context, it's a frightening prognosis.
Well, that was a great 3-minute mouthful of what I believe.
Yeah, it was.
Everything was truisms there. And a lot of it was duh, but it's grim. And I don't even. And the nice thing about Hedges that I get is that he's not so passionately over the top. He's being sober in his object views on things. He's clear, very well spoken, and I can see why you really like Chris Hedges, Chanda. He kind of turns me on too because he's talking sense when he speaks. So again, that was a great clip. Al Walsky, good morning, Al. And Al, of course, he's got one here. I gotta get this up, Captain, because Al is nailing it right out of the gate. Al Walsky. He's talking about $10 from Al Walsky. Trump said, cheer up, things could have been worse. I got cheered up, and sure enough, things got worse, and they're going to get worse. $10 from Al Walsky. Thank you so much, Al.
Fake news.
Yeah, fake news. That was a pretty good Trump impression. Don't let me hear it again, Franklin. That's made me kind of want to throw up a little bit. Thank you, Al. I really appreciate that. Moving right along, we have this one. Federal agencies tap protesters' phones in Portland. Well, no shit. I mean, they've been doing that. They did it when you were at the convention, weren't they?
They were tapping us at the convention. They were tapping them at Standing Rock. I mean, this is nothing new. This started under Obama.
Yeah,
Stingrays, baby.
Yeah,
Stingrays,
and I am certainly less and less an Obama fan. I really was an Obama fan before he took office.
Well, we knew when Obama opened a lot of this stuff up that when Trump took office, he was going to just take the ball and run with this.
Well,
stuff.
for all the powers that Obama gave Trump going out of the office, maybe unknowingly, maybe they thought Hillary Clinton was a shoo-in, but they talk about giving those surveillance powers and everything to the office itself spoke volumes to me. What's this? Who brought this?
So this is Max Kaiser. He has worked in the financial industry since the early 80s, and he has his ear to the track, and I think he's really smart. So you guys should probably check out Max Kaiser in general, but this is just about our failing financial system.
Oh, another duh, I hope.
Hi, I'm Max Kaiser. This is the Kaiser Report. You know,
Is
the
that-
economy is a man-made
I don't know. It
stuff.
seems a little low to me.
That's right. It's got engineers, financial engineers, economic engineers,
Tell him to get the plug out of his
Thinkers.
nose.
philosophers. And they build it
Philosophers.
over time.
Okay.
What happens when the
There it
foundation
is.
evaporates? What happens when the structure collapses? What happens when the simulation goes away? Let's find out from Stacy Herbert.
Well, Max, you know, there was some art a few years ago when we used to be able to meet in person and at that Basel Art Festival, I think it was in Miami. We had some banana on the wall. Well, you might say our balance sheet is looking like that. Banana Meat Republic. Budget deficit hits record $3 trillion as U.S. spends 100% more than it earns. Unfortunately, due to helicopter money, it is unlikely that the exploding deficit will ever shrink again until the monetary system is overhauled. So year to date, and we only have 1 month left in fiscal 2020, the U.S. has spent $6.05 trillion and collected just $3.048 trillion, which means that its outlays are 100% more than its receipts. Many are asking, why do we even collect this $3 trillion in taxes? Why don't we just print money for everybody?
Right. It brings up a lot of questions. You know, one thing is that the deficit is huge and it's more than 100% of GDP, and that's true for countries around the world, and some 200, 300% GDP. But what's creeping up now is the interest on that deficit. Even at these low interest rates, near 0% interest rates, the interest cost on the deficit is getting close to America's outlay for the military, which is their biggest expense. So usually what happens when, in fact, the interest on the debt gets to a point where that also equals your GDP as a country, you are technically in default and you are officially no longer a country. What is left is a memory of a country. You know, we're at that point in the game. You know, in Monopoly, if you play Monopoly, there's always a point in the game where you realize, well, somebody has a strategic amount of property on the board, and they're
The
going
banker
to win.
normally.
And the only thing left for us to do is kind of march toward the inevitable of losing. And this is the problem now with this economy in the U.S. The game of the U.S. is now over because there is no path out. There is no escape from the toxic debt. There is no recovery at this point. There's only how to manage the loss. It's going to be economic collapse with honor if Richard Nixon were in charge and this were the Vietnamization of the economy. How do we honorably fail?
Of course, all of this debt, the deficit gets added to the national debt every year. You know, I remember when it first hit $1 trillion and we were like, whoa, and then it hit $10 trillion and we're like, whoa, and then now it's like 25, 30 trillion. It's just escalating so rapidly. And who knows, the whole time when it first hit $1 trillion, people were shocked and scared. And then when it hit 10 trillion, people were like, oh my God, this can't last. And then it hit 20 trillion and now 25 trillion. And, you know, you wonder how long it can go parabolic.
Yeah. How long can it go parabolic?
Yeah, can you hear me? I think you can. I have to readjust the sound. Yeah, where's Stephanie Kelton? I'd like to hear the MMT thing on this. And also,
Yeah, me too.
again, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I mean, they were screaming about $1 trillion here and $1 trillion there. Now we're having multiple trillions increases. So I think Max is absolutely right. They're going to have to manage failure.
Well, and what are they?
Just
And what are
start
these
a war.
Well, what are these investors doing too? What are all the investors doing? They're hedging their bets. They're moving away from these ethereal stock market things, all these weird financial instruments, and they're moving into precious metals and cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, crypto. They're changing up the dollar. Amos, what's your in on that?
Well, okay. According to modern monetary theory, he got something wrong there because we're not talking about a single pie that's being divided and we're spending, so we have to refill it. When you talk about debt, you have to remember one thing: the U.S. does not have to borrow money. It can print the money and create it. It chooses to do so for various reasons, but that is a choice. And if they don't want to, they don't have to give it out to investors, and the issue is a non-issue. So the question is, we can't default on existing loans, that's for sure. But we can certainly reform the way we act in terms of future budgets and so forth. And at the moment, we're at a crisis. We have to figure out a way out, and hopefully, MMTs, if the right people are in charge, then that could be solved. Hopefully, we do that. But if we have the current conservatives in charge, this is where we're going to end.
No, I agree. You're absolutely 100% correct about that. Almost, I've done a lot of studying on MMT and the deficit. That's money that will be paid in to the United States. So therefore, that's money coming in. It's not like a regular checkbook where you see a minus, and it doesn't go that way.
So
right.
What happens when the world goes off or several countries go off the petrodollar, Amos?
Which is scary, yeah.
When they go off the petrodollar?
Yep.
Well, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be World War done.
And that's just it. How do we recover from this? Well, how have we recovered in the past, in history?
And the end of September is the end of the fiscal year. What does the new fiscal year bring?
Well, I would ask that question at the end of fourth quarter 2020, because I think it's really going to fall into the crapper at that point. I mean, that's going to be the elections are going to be over. We're going to have the new fascist in the White House. Say what you want about Biden, but things aren't fundamentally going to change. Insight and awareness, I believe we're going to see mass layoffs in the coming weeks. They are laying off at Tulalip right now. Yes, absolutely. I think with
Insight, welcome back.
Welcome back, Insight. We missed you. She's been working hard out there with her new job, and well, glad to see you back. I think the economy this holiday season, I know I've said it over and over again, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but it's all going to be virtual buying, selling. The UPS, USPS, all those companies are the only ones that are going to hire seasonal help this year. So that's going to be X number more people that have no income for the holidays, thus no spending, no reinvesting, no stimulating the economy. It's just going to nosedive. Do you guys agree with that, or do you see some happy days on the end of that, or is it all going to be just a mess? What do you think?
No, I agree. I think you put your finger on it, that our main problem is not so much the deficit as it is the fact that people who are currently let to dry and are not receiving the basic necessities to survive this period are just going to go out of business. They're going to lose their homes. And those are things that are not easily reversible. Yeah. And that's the problem, that the reversibility of this is an essential thing to understand, because we're going to be in a loop that's going to be very, very difficult to correct and to take a long time to get out of.
You're right. And yesterday, Oz brought a report from, Yelp, that 60% of Yelps that have closed since...
Yeah, 60% of medium to small jobs are done forever. So, yeah, absolutely. Franklin, how's this going to affect your family?
I mean, that's where that medium, small job area is where I'm at the moment, unfortunately. And that's, I don't want to say it's half, but it's part of the income.
Yeah, well, and you're out there. I know you're actively looking. So if you want a bright bulb on your payroll, Franklin would be the one to put on. There's a shameless plug for you, Franklin. He's a man of all skills and talents. God, this is a good show today. Thank you, guys. Good conversation. Nobody's like shoving Rising down your throat. What did I just say?
Oh, stop it.
Yeah,
I wasn't mean about it.
No, you weren't. You're honest and you're true. And it's, but again, I think I've got this one clip. So let's hear this real quick.
Some very interesting news about Joe Rogan's podcast and Spotify. As we covered earlier, there were some problems with some Spotify employees in revolt over Rogan's podcast in general. Well, now we can learn from digital media outlet. Let's throw that up there on the screen. Some Spotify employees are demanding direct editorial oversight over Joe Rogan's podcast before they are published. So that would include, according to this, content flags, trigger warnings, references to fact-checked information, or seemingly refusing to publish an episode at all. Pretty amazing.
Oh, my God.
What we know,
Joe.
I know, poor guy. All indications so far are that the Spotify CEO has basically told the employees to shove it. But according to the Digital Music News, there have been over 10 meetings inside Spotify all around Rogan's problematic decisions. These people are the biggest narcissists on the planet. They are, I mean, they're trying to destroy what makes the product so great.
Yeah,
and it's just
true.
it's utterly ridiculous. Which is, all of a sudden,
Come
like
on,
they need to censor.
Sauter.
I mean,
Quit
I can
embellishing.
go through on Spotify
Jesus.
right now and find 10 times more other problematic lyrics in songs. Do they go and do they censor lyrics in songs? I mean, go look at some of the stuff, the smut which is in the top 100. And hey, whatever, free speech, employees, but beware, people. These are the
Joe
people that
Rogan
control
is
what
my
you see,
bro.
what you hear, how we digest our information.
Definitely
and scares
not
the hell
fake
out of me.
news.
Well, I think your point is the right one, which
Yeah.
is like the whole reason that Joe's podcast is so popular is because it hasn't been just completely like sanitized and made to fit into this very narrow lane of conversation, like bland media, prepackaged conversation.
I'm going to stop it there. It was clipped longer, but you get the point. And I submit to all of you that those employees over at Spotify that are screaming, I believe that they're moonlighting from MSNBS.
Don't you hate it when you move into a new house and it's infested with vermin?
Yeah, I mean, and they're justifying, well, we're paying Joe Rogan X millions of dollars to come over to Spotify. Well, they're doing the opposite of what I think they should do with such a high-paid presenter on their platform. What do you guys think about all this? Is it more
Whatever. He
more
sold his
internal
soul.
censorship? Go ahead, Chanda.
He knew what he was getting when he sold his soul for freaking $540 million. You don't get to say what you want to say for that kind of money. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. What do you think, Amos?
Yeah, I think it's a very tricky area. It's I mean, like we often complain about right-wing media having creating content that is completely imaginary, and I don't know.
Well,
I think the problem is that we don't have a system in place that is like a independent public sourcing of fact checking. And if we had that, I think that things would look a little better. But,
Wait a minute.
I don't even know how we would do that. I think it has more to do with those who own all of these conglomerates.
I thought Facebook was fact checking for us. Am I wrong?
I use that all the time on people like, well, Facebook says it's real.
yeah. No, I
Look,
just, who's the
I
arbiter?
just want to tell you that Joe Rogan is my bro, and he invited me on his show to have a debate with Sleepy Joe.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me throw up again, Franklin. And this is yeah, fact checking, sure, but who is the arbiter of the truth? There is no such thing in my mind of different truths. There's different views of that truth, but they're trying to do the juxtaposition crap, which I don't buy for 1 second. Now, if you get in there and you fact check a host or something to be factually wrong on something, what should they do? What do you think they should do? That host, when it's pointed the facts out, Amos, what do you think they should do?
I think it should be made. It should be made available. It should be presented in that form. But then the question is, do you believe the fact checkers? And what we see in today's social media is that people choose to ignore fact checking if it's not working for their side. So you would really have, the only way to do it is really have like an objective, unbiased public source that works on that completely outside of those
Platforms and
I
stuff.
think-
I agree because we see that with who is the one they always drop on us.
Drop.
My brain's not working this
What,
morning, but they
Adam?
always like, Snopes.
Snopes. Oh, Snopes, yeah.
Snopes. Come on, that guy has been proven time and time again to be unreliable. So yeah.
Yeah,
We can't-
Snopes is getting paid for their fact twisting, and again, I used to use Snopes back in the early 2000s a lot, and I'm thinking, yeah, they sound good, but again, I think the host, the one who presented the factually incorrect thing, should step up and mea culpa. Let's see what Kyle thinks about this.
I agree too.
So maybe they're better now. No, they're not. I mean, look at what they did with Russiagate. You have this president, this Republican president, who's a rich target for critique. They managed to find the one critique of him that's total nonsense, that he's somehow a Manchurian candidate doing the bidding of Russia, even as he escalates with Russia. And people, fake story after fake story after fake story was promoted. And so they're terrible. Mainstream media is terrible at their job. Like, they're objectively bad at doing the thing that they're supposed to do. Now, in comes Joe Rogan. He's not trying to compete with them. He's not. He's a podcaster and a comedian and a cage fighting commentator.
Yeah.
This is what he does. And he's open about that, you know? But the fact that on his podcast, he just has conversations with people and talks like a normal person and gives people his opinions, like, that actually makes him a lot better than virtually every opinion commentator in mainstream media. And this shows he has more integrity than they do. They lied us into a war, never apologized for it, and have kept getting promoted.
Never.
He said something on his show that turned out to not be true, and he immediately comes out and says, wow, turns out that wasn't true. My bad.
Whoa.
This is called integrity. That's what this is. So I really do think that this story shows that, yes, you could argue, hey, what credentials does he have to host a presidential debate? I mean, that's a fair point, and he would probably agree with you. He'd be like, yeah, why would I be?
It's like
this isn't my expertise. This isn't my field. So, yeah, he'd probably agree with you on that. But what's for damn sure is that he would do a much better job than everybody who already moderates all these presidential debates. Because I've seen every single one of them, and they're almost all terrible across.
Yep.
I agree. What do you think about that? Amos, I think that's what we talked about. They should step up, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, and somebody should keep their feet to the fire in all cases, not just in one direction.
I submit to all of you that in order to gain support and people believe in your message, you have to maintain this modicum of integrity. If you are wrong about a story, you better damn well be sure to get up there as soon as you find out and say, hey chat, hey Al, hey Jilly, hey Barbara, hey Keith, we were wrong on this story yesterday.
We did that yesterday. Actually, you know, I brought the Ruth meme that said that she was against Colin Kaepernick. The chat informed us that she had apologized for that. And so I immediately said, oh, okay, well, this is the new information that we received. I was wrong about it.
And we did it the day before with the comparison of Joe Biden and Trump. Trump, the TPP. Trump wasn't for the TPP. Is that correct?
Yeah, I pointed that.
I mean,
no joke. We brought that one clip, and it said that Trump was against the TPP, he was for the TPP, but he was against it.
Yeah, and that one's a slippery slope because he changes his position like he changes his underwear. Oh, well, we don't that's know a terrible vision. Anyway, no,
yeah, it is.
I gotta say, and this is what I appreciate. And this is not a one-off for Joe Rogan. He has mea culpa before on things that he's said on his show. But I think Kyle's big point there was he's not trying to compete with MSNBS or Fox. You know, it's he's out there doing a show. He's an entertainer. He's like Jimmy Dore. You know, he's doing it from, whatever, except Joe Rogan's getting paid a hell of a lot better than Jimmy Dore, but Jimmy Dore rains money every time he does a show on social media. So, again, the motivation there is to maintain your integrity, maintain your credibility, and this is something that is severely lacking in MSN today, the mainstream media. Because, why, Chanda? Why is that integrity lacking, Chanda?
Because they're owned by 5 conglomerates.
Oh, my God in heaven. I guess you're right. We're going to get into that in a second. We have a Wipey Award winner today, and you will not be surprised at the Wipey Award. We have Fiorella Isabella. She is killing it. And I don't just read Fiorella Isabella. I'm pretty well read. In a few years, the people who are defending AOC trashing third parties are going to realize it's like those who defended Obama The problem is we don't have time for you to stop idolizing politicians. Enough with this. This is how politics works. The reason we're screwed is because we've normalized corruption. Anybody want to disagree with that? Normalized corruption? Almost. Don't you think we've normalized corruption? It's just a given.
It is. Unfortunately, our system has corruption to some degree in every level. And yeah, it's true. But one has to remember we live in an imperfect world, and we have to always look at the lesser evil in every situation. And that's the practical.
You still get evil, though.
Yeah, you still get evil. And that in itself is normalizing corruption. But it's a truism, Amos. I agree with you. We live in an imperfect world. We're normalizing corruption. Franklin, what's your feeling on that?
At what point do you at what point do you get mad at that ratcheting effect? And you say, I don't want to accept either of these two evils. Why do you so I've always with the Democratic Party, right? I've always been like, if they cared about democracy, they would be implementing ranked choice voting or star voting, and they would try to be moving away from this fear mongering that they've been doing for so long. But guess what? They haven't done it. And why?
That's part of the gig, Franklin.
They use it.
Yeah, it's their tool. It's their tool. Fear. I mean, George Bush. Fear, 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 fear. The Democratic Party. Fear, 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 fear. Fear.
That's why they can't control me. Yeah. That's why the corporations and the Democratic Party and all this oligarchy, they can't control me personally because I have like zero fear of this stuff.
And that's why Biden will lose.
Yeah.
And we'll have Trump for 4 more.
Yeah. Mid-show straw poll. Who's going to win in November? Who's going to beat out the other candidate? Franklin?
I think that, unfortunately, it's going to be more Trump.
Trump? Amber? Chamber?
Yeah, well, absolutely. The Democratic Party has ignored the base. They've shut the base out for 4 years. They've rigged 2 primaries, and then they just tell us to fall in line, vote blue no matter who, because Trump's bad. And, this generation of these Gen Zers, they're more informed than any generation decades before us. They're just not going to turn out at all. And then Trump's going to win by default by the low turnout on the left. And then they're not going to be able to figure it out again, and it's going to be more Russia.
Yeah, well, the Gen Zers, of course, are the younger generations, and the boomers and the millennials say, oh, they don't come out to vote. Amos?
Well, I don't know who's going to...
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to win, but I sure hope it's not going to be Trump again. I pray that it's not going to be the case. Yeah, I think that basically we're in a situation where we're our very base for continuing forwards in any democratic manner depends on the fact that he's not going to be continuing in office.
Well,
I want all of you in America to know this is not something that we have to take sitting down. We can have ranked choice voting.
Maine does.
Yeah, well, we're going to have
Maine
to do
does.
that. That's a long process once again because the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, they are bipartisanly working together to make sure you don't get ranked choice voting because that threatens their power.
Yes,
I'm preaching to the choir once again. Some good news before we go into the weather.
Wait, Oz, if I may, just one.
No, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, the thing is that we're also, we have to remember that even like when you're looking at other parties, it has to do with the human nature more so with the political situation. You look at the Green Party, are they any better off? No, they have their own stuff, and that's just unfortunately human nature is driving corruption and wherever it can. Yeah. That's why we have checks and balances.
Yeah, we covered that yesterday. The Green Party rigged their primary election too.
They rigged their own primary.
They're no angels. I mean, come on, Howie. Step up and admit. I think he'd have a better chance if he stepped up and admitted that. Climate disaster. Guess what? We got another new clock.
Did Bezos build this one?
I don't know what the hell. I just how long until it's too late? Well, this new clock Let me see. It's right here. It's turning. It's turning. It's turning. Look at it go. Look at it go. So we've got 7 years according to this new clock. I'm thinking. Let's see if I can not crash the studio. Okay, 7 years, 10 hours, save the world. Yeah, the planet has a budget. This is about the carbon budget. Now, that's kind of the point I wanted to ask you guys. What do you think? The carbon budget isn't the be-all, end-all. We can only burn 306 billion more of our carbon cred. Famine, drought, replacement. Such good news. What the hell? We must end fossil fuels, factory farming if they don't put it in there. Get off the meat, everybody. Sorry, it's true. The Earth has a deadline. I mean, this is a pretty stark clock. You know, I liken this to the doomsday clock. Is that a fair analogy there?
I do believe it's fair. And tune in on Beauty and the Boomer on Saturday. I've got an amazing report, what the global elite think is going to happen by 2030. And it addresses a lot of these, the carbon emissions. They're saying we will be zero emissions by 2030. We will not own anything anymore, that we will be like a barter society. And this came straight from like the Bilderberg groups. It's going to blow your mind, but it addresses a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
How did we get there that fast in 10 years?
Franklin, looks like you're ready to say something. What do you think, Franklin? Franklin?
No, I'm just glad that we have another Mayan Lex Luthor whatever clock to let us know and for everyone to ignore.
Yeah, there you go. It's one more. Amos, what do you think?
I don't know who that was. I think it was Bezos that came up with this idea of colonizing. Like we should everything solved. We'll just have people colonize the moon and Mars, whatever.
Yeah, Elon.
But obviously that's ridiculous when you think of the numbers. So obviously what he has in mind is the elite's going to escape Earth, and everybody else is going to be left to screwed down here.
Yeah, they're going to merge with AI before they do that and become, super transhumans.
I don't think AI is going to allow that to happen, because AI probably doesn't want to infect the universe.
Take it away from us.
Yeah, take it away. This reminds me of the synopsis of a pop culture show, Titan AE. It was back in the day where they took DNA or whatever, and they put it in this ship, and they sent it into a realm where it could flourish, and the DNA could like re-evolve like planet Earth did over millions of years. And I'm thinking, well, why? What's the point? Let the universe do it naturally. Let's not screw something up and do a part 2 and do it over again.
They say Franklin's rad. Franklin is rad.
Franklin's rad, radical. A climate emergency unfolding before our eyes. Arctic sea ice has shrunk to almost historic levels, and I think they're understating this. You guys, what you guys feel? How do you guys have you heard about this? I keep hearing about it every day. I know the Black Bear News has been all over this. Kevin over there, and he's like, and Kevin's like, shit, and Kevin can't even do what he used to. Kevin said he spent his time going to movies and just passing great numbers of minutes through a movie, and he just easy life. So he's on top of it. We're getting into weather now. Chanda, this is yours.
Okay, so Hurricane Beta made landfall yesterday down by Galveston, and this is, you can play it. There's no sound, Oz. Well, maybe some water sound, but Galveston flooded, which we know that they always do. But I'm seeing reports that Houston's got mass amounts of standing water on the interstates. I think we're going to get a lot of reports out of Texas and Louisiana and further up that they've got major flooding. And as you know, they just dealt with Sally less than a week ago.
Wow.
These are pretty shocking photos, but you can see Galveston. They're built for the water to come in.
Let me ask you this, since Human brought it up. Nuclear waste will destroy life and morph it into something else.
No.
How many nuclear reactors are along that coast?
Do you mean the Gulf of Mexico coast? I don't think there's a lot, but there's a lot of oil platforms, and we do a huge amount of oil drilling down there.
So didn't didn't one of those hurricanes go up the East Coast and go to?
Yeah, that's where you got to be scared of the nuclear power plants at is the East Coast.
So that between that and tsunamis and earthquakes and bears, oh my, we have another Fukushima incident, except it's along the East Coast or California for that matter. Oh, it's just a rosy picture that you guys.
Yeah, I
paint.
didn't bring you guys a Hurricane Teddy update. I checked this morning, and it looks like Nova Scotia is battening down the hatches. It's looking to make landfall on Nova Scotia at maybe a Category 3 or Category 4, but that's good for almost it missed New Jersey and New York.
So, are they equivocating Sally, the amount of moisture that was dropped 30 inches with Beta, or is that going to be less?
Beta's very, very wet. Teddy is wet, but Teddy's got a lot of strong wind and what looks like tornadoes, that are going to spin off of it. So I was watching a clip this morning where the construction sites in Halifax are, getting everything because they've got cranes up in the city. Those cranes come down, they'll take a whole apartment complex or a whole, high rise down with them. So they're trying to get ready for it to make landfall.
Well, how do these insurance companies stay afloat? Do they just raise their rates?
Oh, it's an act of God. They don't pay.
They don't pay. You're just screwed. Now, these houses are built on stilts, so they're obviously ready.
I think they got wiped out a long time ago. Galveston's been hit so many times. There was a historical hurricane there in the late 1800s that killed like half the town. And, they didn't have the up-to-date meteorologist reports that we have now, and they didn't see it coming. That's a horrific story. If you
with sea levels rising, I would imagine this property is going to be worthless at some point. Now,
Right. We see that in Louisiana, too.
It's very disconcerting because the number of hurricanes is blown up. Like there's one after the other now. I think we're into the Greek letters already.
Yeah, Beta.
Yeah, we're at Beta now.
So this just begs the question: how many places can Trump be in to throw toilet paper?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right.
Yeah, he's going to do the George Bush thing. Here's some paper towels. This is an interesting picture. What's this?
So I came across this yesterday. This is Oregon. And so people are starting to return to the burned out homes in some of these towns like Detroit and, Anyway, so they're getting up there and they're walking and literally they're falling through the ground into fire holes. So I'll let this segment.
Is this like the peat up in Siberia?
Well, we had this in the Olympic rainforest last year. What happens is with these big forest fires, the roots of these big massive trees catch on fire and the fire moves underground. So what you'll see is just a little bit of smoke on the top of the ground, but down below there's a massive inferno burning, and it takes months. I think ours burned for a half a year before it went out. We were deep into winter before they got it out in the Olympics last year.
This problem has a lot to do with trees, or more specifically, their roots. Some of them are still on fire, and folks heading up there to check on their homes or fire damage might not even realize it.
So we're up here on Hill Street, and we're just doing spot checks for smoldering and for any trees that need to come down.
Don Tesdahl took this video over the weekend in Detroit. A volunteer firefighter with the Idana Detroit Fire District, Tesdahl was back up there doing fire mop-up when he came across a serious problem many might miss.
You do not want to fall in that.
Oh my God.
This is everywhere. We're going to put this out, but these things are all over the hillside.
Holy shit.
From above the mound, it might look just like a little smoke, but below it is an active fire just waiting for the chance to get out.
You've got a 1,200-degree fire going on.
Holy smokes.
Right next to somebody's house.
That's a kiln.
And this can just spread. So we're going to put this out.
Well, if you didn't know any better, you could probably find yourself with 2 legs knee-deep in one of those holes. And it doesn't take long at 1,200 degrees to burn the shoes right off your feet.
Tesdahl posted the video to inform the community of what is going on in Detroit.
Oh my gosh. This is my house.
One of his first posts was last week, showing what the fire did to his own home.
This is all that's left of my house.
The reason why I've been posting these videos is to give the community an idea of what's going on.
It's extremely hazardous up here right now. So
in this case, underground, where you can't see, hidden fires and root systems that could burn undetected for months.
You know, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we still have a lot of this stuff going on well into February.
Fires that not only pose a danger to those walking on the ground above them, but for anyone even near them.
it becomes like clay. You walk over the top of it and it just breaks. It's real fragile. So it wouldn't take very much for a very dangerous tree to just topple down onto the highway.
Because the fire district is all volunteer, it has nowhere near the number of chainsaws and tools it needs to deal with the dangerous trees. It's hoping donations will help with that. Because these firefighters know their work is far from over.
Oh, great. GoFundMe firefighter work.
Still trying to save houses.
That's the point.
Shit.
There's still plenty we're saving up here, and it's still plenty dangerous.
If you'd like to help out these volunteer firefighters who have done so much over the last couple of weeks, there is a donation tab on the Idana Detroit Fire District webpage. We've got a link to that site on KGW.com. In Portland, Keely Chalmers, KGW News.
KGW.
What a crazy story.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great story. Thank you for bringing that. And you guys hit it. Why in the living hell do firefighters need to have GoFundMes?
Don't talk about socializing this shit, you communist.
They're trying to de-socialize the fire department. Go back to the old days where if you guys can pay, we'll keep your house from burning down, So
But they haven't been producing a good revenue stream so far.
Shit. Oh, Jesus. There you go, Amos, you capitalist, you. This is insane. And when people scream about, socialism bad, you get in a situation like this, you're going to be sucking at the teat of socialism because this will wipe you out. This will destroy you. This will kill you. So again, that's I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. That was a great segment. Thank you, Chanda.
We all lean into our mics out of habit, human.
Yeah, and you're right, human. I lean into my mic. It's my fault, and this is what I'm working on. And Human's the one that's been on me about this, and you're right.
I know,
because
Human's been riding us.
Well, we've got your mic situation taken care of. Shanda's getting a whole new microphone set up tomorrow or today.
Yeah.
And when you get that, call me. We'll get it set up. And my mic is coming next week, so hopefully it will be better. I apologize for that. This is old news, but it's relevant news, and it's getting worse. So, Chanda, you want to preface this?
Yeah, this is just a reminder of who owns the media and who is putting the narrative out there that's reaching 100% of households.
This episode is brought to you by CuriosityStream. Get free access to Nebula, the streaming service built by all your favorite YouTubers, when you sign up for CuriosityStream at the link below.
Sorry.
No, it's
I should have cut it.
It's all right. There's a mic problem.
Vice, ESPN, and the History Channel. What do these three media outlets have in common? Despite their different target audiences, they're all owned by the same company, Disney. What about these three? Same story. They're all owned by Comcast. If you were to pick a bunch of media operations from a hat, odds are the vast majority of them are owned and operated by one of just 5 megacorporations. Since the early 1980s, the number of media companies controlling the bulk of US media has shrunk from 50 to just 5. We've gone from a media landscape operated by a reasonable number of controlling interests to a reality dominated by near monopolies, just barely sneaking under the enforcement of antitrust laws. In this episode, we're going to talk about the consolidation of American media in the hands of a few ultra-powerful companies, and what that means in a time when the very wealthy have outsized influence over public policy. Before we begin, it's worth noting that corporate deals, acquisitions, and mergers happen all the time, often with little to no coverage. It's quite possible that by the time you watch this video, some of these data points will have changed. But unless something truly cataclysmic happens, the vast majority of US media will still be under the thumb of one or more of the 5 supercorporations we're about to discuss. So, without further ado, let's meet the Big 5. Comcast, Disney, National Amusements, News Corp, and AT&T, taking the spot from Time Warner, which it acquired in 2018 for $109.
So we know who they are, but I just want to remind you of who facilitated this. The 1996 Telecommunication Act and all of its, Bill Clinton, and all of its drafters, right? And who was a part of that? Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, all of them. And that was Joe Biden when he was like a senator, right?
Yeah.
He pushed that. And again, we've got so much poop.
Not pure as the driven snow Joe.
Yeah, well, that's not selling. Unfortunately, for those of us who want to not see another 4 years of dumpy.
I had a big long conversation yesterday with somebody about the fact that we've been under oligarchs for 100 years, and we can't survive 4 more of fascism, so I have to vote for the oligarch.
Well, I don't know if we can survive with the way everything's culminating to this point. I mean, you're going to have to survive. Amos, are you going to survive the next 4 years under a Trump administration?
I'm going into my bunker. I don't know about you guys.
You got a bunker just like Trumpy?
Studio set up there already.
Yeah, well, it's not as funny as it might be serious. I mean, we are planning for the future. We are trying to get permaculture. I'm rationing water to the point of rationing for the future, not for today. Anything that's, I drink these terrible Powerade things. They come in a very sturdy bottle, and I save those. I save that water for that day where things get so bad. And it's horrible because that's my view of the future, having to dry out foodstuffs and save water and all this stuff. Jesus, when I was a kid, I never thought I'd have to do this. But our society has become so disposable everything. We've crapped up the planet so bad. We throw away the batteries. We throw away trash. One package. And here's a shout out to vegans again. I mean, they're very good about recycling, about permaculture, about not feeding the beasts. That's ultimately going to kill us. Franklin, you look like you got something to say about that. Speak.
No. Well, I mean, it's just the recycling. There's a whole lot of recycling programs that aren't doing well,
Right.
and not recycling as much as we'd like.
Well, and China shut us down. China was taking something like 90% of our recycling, and since Trump's been in office, they said F you.
Well, no, the recycling is just landfill. I mean, it's just this garbage can goes here and this garbage can goes there. They're not really recycling a great deal of that because it's more expensive to recycle. Amos, do you have some?
Well, the problem with that is it's not particularly anything to do with the trade war or anything. It's just basically they were sending polluted loads of garbage with mixed garbage that they would have had spent a lot of time and energy to pull apart and it's just not workable with the number of different plastics and stuff. The way we are doing it now, it's not recyclable. And even if it is recyclable, you can recycle it into only certain products, such as carpets and roads. I don't know, benches, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then that's just one time. And then what do you do with the when you need to dispose of those things? Well, plastic is a dead end unless it's chemically changed and made organic and so forth, biodegradable. So
hey, I'm an American. I got time to sort stuff.
Yeah, well, this is my case for hemp. Hemp containers is absolutely the way to go. And we should have been doing this a long time ago. So I guess by advocating what I do with that Powerade bottle is I'm recycling that, using it as a container. I'm self-recycling. And when you think about it, a lot of this shit, we could self-recycle. Think about that. The next time you throw something out, is it a bottle that you can store water in, or can you use it for a foundation for something, or connecting? There's just so many uses. People are crafty naturally out there if they want to be. But like Chanda just alluded to, I'm an American. I'm too lazy to do that shit. I don't need to do that. So let's just keep on polluting the planet. What is this?
So this is one of the things that I think that needs to be covered, and I don't think people are going to be knowing about. But this is a voting company, and they're suing in the Supreme Court over whether ethical hacking, the hacking by anyone, can be allowed. And so they're trying to say that you can't hack us without our permission. So this is disconcerting because most of the software that we have running around gets hacked, and then those bugs get sent to those companies, and then typically they get paid for that. These people that are just out there milling around and thinking about things and penetrating whatever they can.
So they get subsidized for finding the flaws in other people's stuff, but now other people don't want to pay for those things. They just want to put an end to it because they've got a big head and they think they're perfect. Is that what you're saying?
It's not really that. It's that they don't want people. I think this is about control. I think the government doesn't want people hacking. and they're going to outlaw anybody that is trying to do anything that they don't want them to do.
Okay, so it's proprietary ownership. Don't touch my stuff or I'll sue you.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's see what we got here.
A briefing filed to the Supreme Court states that Votes, that's spelled VOATZ, they're a Boston-based e-voting company, which is commonly used by active military to cast ballot votes while overseas and also used in 11 states, is arguing that security researchers should not have legal protection whenever they are looking for vulnerabilities within a company's infrastructure.
Tell me it was about
without
ballots.
Express permission. Yes, you heard that right. Even though we have seen many flaws in voting company hardware and software through sources such as the Voting Machine Village at DEF CON, even though another company called ES&S has started asking hackers to find vulnerabilities, this company only wants you hacking them if they give you permission.
Oh, shit.
Votes argues that running live attacks on live, real-life systems would give researchers faulty results and conclusions, and it would make it hard to distinguish between, quoting them, true researchers and malicious hackers, and would create unnecessary burdens. Yeah. Okay, so now in February, Votes also had an argument with MIT researchers who found a bunch of vulnerabilities in their mobile voting software, which is used in those 11 different states currently. Votes said in their briefing that the MIT researchers' findings were rendered useless because they did not use the authorized bug bounty program or directly collaborate with the company. Does anybody else... Does Votes honestly think that malicious hackers are going to ask for permission to hack their software? Like, they won't take vulnerability seriously unless they go through their bug bounty program? Okay. I feel like the MIT researchers really did them a big favor here. To continue, Votes also reported a University of Michigan student who was enrolled in a class that required studying flaws in online voting to state officials when said student found a flaw in their software. I feel like they just really aren't fans of constructive criticism, are they?
Nope.
Meanwhile, the DHS has requested that researchers try to find vulnerabilities in election infrastructure since the work is critical to national security. This all matters because Votes filing in the Supreme Court is a broader reconsideration of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act of 1986, which is very vague, obviously, allowing for researchers to be criminalized if they find and report vulnerabilities without going through channels that are deemed appropriate by the target of the research. Votes does not want the CFAA narrowed to ensure ethical hacking is decriminalized. Not only is this a bad look for Votes, but their filing could potentially keep security researchers from being able to report findings.
That's the shit.
Yeah, frankly, you didn't tell me this was about voting.
Yeah, you didn't tell me it was about ballot, the voting.
Well, but this is the context that they're using, but the greater context is that you're not going to be allowed to be a white hat hacker or whatever.
But wouldn't that just open it up for the black hat hackers to just have free reign over it, and then there'll be software problems because they never got debugged?
Well, yeah. Ultimately, it's stupid and short-sighted in the big picture, because what they're doing is they're reducing the scrutiny of their security systems.
But it's greater than that.
More flaws will exist.
Yeah.
It's greater than that because the government is trying to control. They're saying if you want to be a white hat hacker, if you want to be an ethical hacker, you have to work for us.
Right, which is what they want. They want control. They don't want you having that knowledge to get into their systems unless they can control you.
Yeah. Keith says a dodge to take civil liberties. Yeah, it is. This is Diebold and CS&S and all of them. They don't want to be exposed any more than they already have. And this is where corruption has been normalized. It's like, and I could go off on Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing away too with the Roe thing again. We've normalized this shit. So anytime a Supreme Court justice comes up, it's all about Roe versus Wade. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, all this other stuff for the military-industrial complex, big pharma, fossil fuels is going to go on. But everybody's fixated on Roe versus Wade.
Which they'll never touch.
Yeah, and like Shanda's alluding to, they're going to take advantage of this. They're going to get somebody in there that's going to be moderate, that's not going to go after Roe versus Wade, but they're going to fill their Christmas stocking with every damn thing they could possibly want.
All your civil liberties.
Yeah, just like Ajit Pai. Obama appointed Ajit Pai. Did he ever think for 1 second that Ajit Pai could be the head of the FCC?
Did you hear Romney's going to confirm?
Yeah, I heard that this morning. I'm not surprised. So, I mean...
That he's being considered as Secretary of State for Joe Biden.
Sure he is. Sure he is. Joe Biden. Romney's. I would put him in charge of the health care.
Romney Care.
Romney Care.
So
did
great
such a
for
good
all
job.
of us.
Okay, Franklin, we're running out of time. What's this? I think we got this last one, right?
Okay, this is your public service announcement, everyone.
All right, here we go.
The average person has 27 unique web logins. To create an account on a site, you have to register with a username and password, and most people pick passwords that are easy to remember. Actually, a lot of us end up using the same password for all of our websites, which is understandable, but risky. There are many different ways that hackers can get your password. They can use programs that try to guess it by randomly cycling through different combinations, hacking the website itself, or phishing by sending fake emails that look like they're from a website or company.
Get those every
but actually
day.
Aren't. All of this spells bad news for people that reuse the same password because you're putting yourself at much higher risk for hackers being able to get into your emails, your photos, and even your bank info. Last year, Yahoo made headlines when it was the victim of a massive cyber attack, with sensitive information being stolen from 1 billion accounts.
Billion.
So if you had a Yahoo account and you used that same password for other sites, you are now vulnerable to all those other accounts being hacked too. Every time there's a big hack like this, experts tell us to stop using the same password for every website. In fact, they say we should stop memorizing our passwords altogether, recommending that we use something called a password manager instead. I know, it already sounds complicated, but trust me, it's really not, and it'll help make all of your accounts much more secure. We currently think of passwords as things that we memorize and store inside our heads. But since we're really bad at remembering random things, there's a limit to how complex your password can be, and how many different ones you'll be able to remember. As a result, most people have really simple passwords, and many use the same one across all their logins. This sucks because if a hacker gets access to your one password, they then have access to all of your different accounts. And if your password is uncomplicated, it's astonishingly easy for hackers to guess it. For instance, if you use a password like, password, which is actually the 8th most commonly used one, it would take a hacker mere milliseconds to guess it. But if you use a password manager to generate a 15-digit series of random upper and lowercase letters and numbers, that time jumps up to 609 million years. The biggest thing we need to do is stop keeping our passwords in our heads. Instead, we need to put them somewhere else and lock them up, like a virtual safe. This is what the password manager does. It's basically an app that keeps all of your passwords secure inside of a safe that only you can unlock. This way you only need to remember one password. And once you unlock the safe, you can see all of your many different passwords in one place. Since it's an app, you can access your passwords from any device you've installed it on. And since you don't need to remember all your passwords anymore, you can make them really long and complicated. So what happens if your password manager gets hacked? They would have access to all of your individual passwords then, right? Not necessarily. The password manager encrypts your data, so if a hacker looks inside your safe, all they'll see is scrambled passwords. LastPass was hacked in 2015, and users had to change their master passwords, but the individual passwords inside were safe because of this encryption. It may seem like it would be annoying to have to retrieve your password for every single website, but actually, most password managers have browser plugins that automatically fill your info in for you. So in many cases, it's actually easier. And besides, it's better than the alternative, becoming one of the millions of Americans that get hacked every.
You're trying to sell this to a guy that used checks well past debit card times. I wouldn't use a debit card for like 5 years.
Hey, it's your digital life, man.
Oh my God! Yeah, I was saying.
I thought we had a new sponsor when I logged in this morning. I was like, "Yay, we got a new sponsor!"
And who would that sponsor be? Let's see. Is this going to be our sponsor, Franklin?
Bitwarden.
So this is the open source end-to-end encrypted password manager that I recommend to everyone out there.
Is it easy to use?
I mean, I think it's easy to use. It's as with everything else, you have to do a little bit of setup. But I think after you get transitioned over and you get used to just typing in your one password every time you get on your computer, and then you're good to go.
Well,
And I've been using one that's called LastPass for the last few years.
The one that got hacked?
LastPass? How's that work?
The one that got hacked.
I was going to ask Amos how that worked out for him.
It didn't affect me.
Didn't affect you. Well, that's
right.
good.
It didn't affect, but they are a proprietary company.
Yeah. Hi, Juliet Nickel. Hi.
I'm not saying that LastPass is bad. LastPass is good. I've used LastPass, but the only reason I'm not a fan of LastPass is because it's a company.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I know you're anti-capitalist to the core, and I appreciate that, Franklin, because I'm getting more and more that way myself.
No, I am too. I just want to give a shout out to Chris Foster, who says, "Remember, rebels, if you want to take down the system, you must fill out the form 92A through 132B, and do not forget to enclose a current photo."
In triplicate.
You just broke my brain. I mean, I've got a book of passwords. I'm not kidding. It's 6 pages long of passwords,
Yeah, me
and
too.
it's just double spaced, so I can see it easier. But yeah, this would be nice. I'm going to have to foray into the Bitwarden era of things. I got to.
So it's not good that Google's protecting all my passwords for me?
Oh Jesus! Why don't you just give it?
Oh no,
to,
they're benevolent. They're a benevolent dictator. It's fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're just
okay.
going to give it to everybody
Google's
else.
my friend.
Great,
Yeah.
great show today, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, Amos and Franklin. This is fun. Go ahead.
Before we go, can I just give one item of good news? So
we need some good news, please.
All right. So basically, this has been in the works for a long time, but finally, there's like 156 countries that have signed on to this agreement to distribute the vaccine when it is available. They're hoping their goal is to produce 2 billion vaccines by the end of the year 2021. And what's important about it is that it puts rich countries on the same level as poor countries, and they're going to distribute the vaccines based on demographics and like of people who are most susceptible and essential workers, and people in the healthcare industry first across the world. And they're going to they aim to reach 3% first in this kind of like distributed manner, and then the next building block will be 20%. And so this is encouraging because it is an affront to Trump's nationalistic approach of who has the vaccine first. And I think it's a smart thing because the virus doesn't see borders. It's like if you don't extinguish it across the world simultaneously, it's just a fool's errand. So.
No, I'm sorry I missed that. Almost.
If we weren't short in time, I have a lot to add to this, but I'm just going to shut my mouth and say no vaccine for me.
No, I didn't leave this out on purpose. That was the last thing to add to the deck before we started the show, and I missed it sincerely because it can be a contentious debate. But I would like to have this discussion at some point. And
Amber would ask who got the contracts.
Yeah, I know, and I would like to invite Amber in on that discussion too, because I think Amos and Amber, although they would probably agree on many points, there would be some discussion on where they didn't.
Too, yeah.
So, but anyway, no, I didn't leave this out. It was an accident. I apologize, and it is a big story. So. Let's go out. What are we going out with here today?
We're going to flash back to the 80s. Franklin's hair inspired me.
Franklin's hair.
We're doing new wave today.
And this is a Simple Minds.
Alive and Kicking, a Simple Minds cover by UK Calling.
Yeah, Alive and Kicking, and it's not by the group Alive and Kicking. It's UK Calling. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Amber or Chanda and Franklin and Amos. And
Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, I've got a dead brain cell in one of my receptors, and I keep crossing it with Amber and Chanda. So, truly, that's the only.
I'm just Chamber.
Chamber. Anyway, Alive and Kicking by Simple Minds, UK Calling.
Please like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, please. And I didn't give any updates. There will be a a dive tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll get the ladies on here, and we hope to see Amos and Franklin again on a show anytime. Let us know. And we don't have anything else going on that I'm aware of except Friday night, Brave New Future, Saturday morning, No Joke, and then Beauty and the Boomer on Saturday night. I'm going to shut up. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Yes.
Tell me when you have sound other than Dharma.